I always wonder when you're buying a vintage instrument, how much are you paying just for mojo? Are they actually better? I took a $339 Telecaster style guitar and put it against an all-original 1954 Fender Esquire to see how much the mojo really matters and which one actually reigned supreme in my first ever Battle Telecaster. Of course I say Battle Telecaster as I hold an Esquire. Fender Esquire is a Fender Telecaster except with just a lead pickup. And I know there's many of you out there that are like, that's all you need. There's a bunch of famous Fender Esquire players. You got guys like Joe Strummer from The Clash. Bruce Springsteen has been playing a Fender Telecaster Esquire for years. It's actually a 53-54 Telecaster with an Esquire neck. You got the guys in Pink Floyd that played the Esquire, namely Syd Barrett, the original guitarist, may he rest in power, played a 1960s Esquire that he wrapped and then put all these mirror discs on it so that when he played live, he could reflect all kinds of crazy light at the audience. Jimmy Page was so inspired by that, his Telecaster also had mirror discs all over it as an homage to the great Syd Barrett. Luther Perkins from Johnny Cash's band, very famous for the boom chicka boom sound. David Gilmour from Pink Floyd played an Esquire, famously on songs like Run Like Hell. Not to mention all the amazing Telecaster players out there, like Roy Buchanan and Muddy Waters, Jeff Beck. This guitar and iterations of this guitar have been made famous by so many of the most important players. I was never really into Telecasters. To me, it's just this slab of wood. It's not pretty. There's really nothing about it other than the fact that it is a no-frills, all-business tone machine. Let's just take a look at this beautiful 1954 all-original Fender Esquire. You got this ash body. Look at this thing. It looks like it's been through a war. You can see on this pick guard, there was a mold problem at one point that ate through, chemically, this pick guard. So no, there's no mold on this I can wipe off. This is just what's been done to the pick guard. Now look at this fretboard. This says to me, Benny, I've been putting in the work for 70 freaking years. Not one screw has been changed on this thing. The only thing changed about this is that it had a refret. Now to me, I call this proof of life. You see all this right here? This is somebody just rubbing their hand up and down, playing this bad boy. And of course, if you look at the serial number, 7803 will date it right to 1954. You get all these relic guitars and they have all this kind of stuff. This is real, guys. All of this is real. This is what you get when you rub against somebody's body for an entire lifetime of a human being. So when Fesley said, hey, we want to send you another guitar, in particular, this FTC1000, I said, well, yeah, send me a Telecaster, Fesley. The thing is that I did another review for Fesley, and they are essentially a budget brand from China that's on Amazon. And the guitar I reviewed for $189 was a great guitar for $189. But when they originally hit me up, I said, I don't want any more guitars from you guys. I appreciate it, but I don't do budget guitars on my channel. They said, well, this one's gonna be $339. This is gonna be our premier guitar, Benny. And I gotta be real, I just bought a house. I've been spending all sorts of money on everything but guitars. So when they sent me a picture of this in the metallic blue, all right, Fesley, send me the guitar. Let's see what this thing's got. But the condition was, I'm going to put it against a $35,000 Fender Esquire. And Fesley said, sure, go for it. So this thing showed up, and I have to be real, I was pretty impressed. Let's take a peek. First off, this metallic blue is to die for. But my biggest issue with a lot of these guitars, especially budget guitars, is that they don't have good hardware and pickups. They already solved that problem by putting a Wilkinson bridge and Wilkinson pickups on this thing. It's got a rosewood fretboard with a 12.01 radius, same as a Les Paul other than 0.01. A 25/5 scale. You got baked maple. But also, a big complaint I have with a lot of these cheap guitars is they have, well, let's be real, crap tuners. You got Grovers. And this quarter sawn baked maple neck looks real sweet. It has rolled fret edges, and just picking it up with this C-shaped neck I was really taken aback because it doesn't just play well for a cheap guitar, it plays well, period. And when I plugged it in, it sounded really good. Now, the thing is, after the first day, I did notice that the toggle switch was a little bent. And the first thing I did, because I'm an idiot, obviously, is I tried to bend my toggle switch on my 70-year-old Fender. Is there any malleability to the metal? And no, there's not. So albeit I love how this thing looks, it did give me a red flag that, hey, you might be able to bend the crap out of this and kill it over time. But the more I played it, the more I really loved it. And I decided I'm gonna invite my friend Paul Lourenco, the drummer from my band Lost Symphony. You've seen him on this channel. In fact, he auditioned for Primus right on this channel. So if you haven't gone and watched it yet, go check out Paul and his Primus audition on this channel. I trust him because he's been playing music for 45 years. He's not in it for anything else other than to play music. So here is my friend Paul Lourenco being handed both of those guitars. And this is his reaction plugged in through a 1966 Fender Showman amplifier.
I love Telecasters. I didn't like them for the longest time, and then eventually I came around to them, and now I love them. It's got its own unique sound that's a little bit different than a Strat. It's got a little bit different character, a little bit brighter. It's just got its own thing. I would pick this up if I had the cash on hand. I mean, it plays beautiful.
What happens when I put that in your hand, man?
Yeah, I mean, this has mojo for days. I mean, it's ridiculous. I have an Esquire, actually, so this is closer to the feel of my Telecaster, but I mean, this is the real deal. You can tell that this has been played for decades upon decades. I mean, just look at the back of the neck. It's got wear and tear on it, but it adds to the flavor of it, in my opinion. Obviously, if you have the money, I would buy this. But for $300, I mean, that's an insane deal. The action plays similarly. I mean, the neck actually feels cleaner on that than on this. I can feel the edges of the frets and stuff, which is fine. I mean, I don't mind that at all. But like you said, with the rolled frets, it's got a little bit sleeker of a feel. Apples and oranges, really. This one's got a little bit more tone to it, actually. Let's say a little bit more body and mid-range to the tone. The other one has a lot of high end, and honestly, this one's a bit more evenly voiced. I love the other one, and I love the sound of it, but if I was gonna record a track, I might actually choose this one, just because it's more evenly voiced. Nobody's gonna see it in the studio.
Had to throw it back to Paul, put him back through a Marshall JCM 900, and hear what these ladies sounded like with a little bit of grit. You want to go to the rhythm pickup on it? one do you think reigns supreme? How much are you really paying for mojo? It's the life force in this guitar that has just been generating over years. So when you pick it up out of the case, it just goes, oh. How much is that mojo worth? It's just a modern instrument that plays awesome. So of course, I have to ask my buddy Paul.
If I had, how much was it?
$35,000 and $339.
How many of these would that buy?
At least 100.
100? So I would buy 100 of these and give them to all my friends. This thing plays comparable. It's a different guitar, it's got a different neck, it's got different pickups, it's got different everything aside from the shape. I mean, it sounds great, and I've bought a Mexican Telecaster that I thought was every bit as good as an American Telecaster or a vintage Telecaster. I like guitars that play well, and both of these play well. If I'm sitting in my living room and I have both of these on stands, I'm playing this one all day long. If I'm going to a gig or maybe even a studio session, I'd probably take this guy with me. Because one, it sounds great, it's gonna be reliable, and I'm not worried if it falls off the stand or something happens, somebody walks off with my guitar case. Whereas this one, I would lose my mind and throw myself off a bridge. And they sound a lot different. Feel-wise, they both have great action and good response. The necks are both very playable. Actually, they're pretty even. This one has more roundness to it and a bit more balance to the tone.
Yeah.
The
Fesley.
Fesley. The Ace Fesley.
Ace Fesley?
Uncle Fesley, isn't that a guy? This is one of my favorite guitars of all time. This gives me Crossroads vibes. I can picture Ralph Macchio walking around with this sticking out of his backpack in the pouring rain with Jamie Gertz following him. It's got that thing, you know, I mean.
So it has mojo?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
So does the one on your left, do you think that that could have mojo though, if you kept it around for 30 years? Do you think it'd even work in 30 years?
Maybe, I don't know, tough to say. I guess we'll have to find out. Elvis Fesley?
Elvis Fesley. You're Elvis Fesley. That's a good one, dude. Why don't you smash that subscribe button already?